This object lesson was inspired by Violet, who told me that her dream birthday wish is to have her room made over. And then she showed me her Pinterest board where she has pinned I don't know how many different room designs and different loft beds I could build and all the things. So as I was thinking about this idea of God being a framer of heaven and earth and helping my kids understand why some of his doctrines are not negotiable, some of them need to stand exactly as he placed them, and some of them there's flexibility in, not the doctrines, but in the teachings and the way practices are carried out in the church. And I wanted to give some interior design spin on that. So the printable this week gives you a few different options. One of the pages looks like this. This is essentially just an empty apartment that your kids are going to decorate with all the little furniture pieces that you'll give them on a separate page. If you don't have a lot of time, like maybe you're in a primary class and you don't have time to cut out all those little pieces of furniture, you could just give your kids this one. It has like it all laid out as a sample and let them draw in their ideal apartment, like what their ideal house would look like. What color would their bed be and where would it be placed? Where would they put the kitchen table and what shape would it be? Let them kind of lay things out. Then once they start kind of putting things in place, you're going to talk to them about framing. How when we pay attention to the framing of what is in that apartment, you can't just put things anywhere, right? Some of the pieces, for example, are a bathtub or a sink. Those pieces can't just be stuck in a bedroom or a closet. They're things that the framing has to fit. There are certain places on this empty apartment flat that show you that the bathroom has to go right here because that's the only place where there's drainage for the water to go. It's the only place where there's pipes to let the water flow out. Same kind of thing with the kitchen. I might want to put an island right over here and my stove right over here in the living room. But if I don't have the proper connection points for those things, then it wouldn't really work. So you're going to talk to your kids about that's how framing works. What framing is it sets the parameters for how we can have the most joyful life. If I took the shower and I tried to install it in the living room, I would not enjoy that apartment. In fact, you probably had experience as even a teenager or as an adult where you've walked into a house that has a really weird layout. Maybe your kids could talk about some of the houses they've seen or structures they've seen that have an odd arrangement of rooms. This is essentially what the Lord is trying to tell us in these sections. He has framed certain things so that it can run as efficiently as possible so that we can have joy. The hope is that we delight to live in this beautiful house he has framed for us. He wants us to enjoy every single square inch of it. And in order to do that, he has framed it in a very certain way. But there's also a lot of flexibility in what our lives look like and the talents we develop. That's why as your kids color in the little pieces of furniture, they can use their own personality and creativity to arrange things. You can even apply that to things like callings, that if I'm a young women's president, my young women might run a little bit differently than my cousin's does in a different state, or that my aunt runs hers. Like I can put some flexibility into my particular talents and the way my life looks and the way I carry out my callings. But there are certain pieces of my life that have been framed for me. So if you go in the notes, you can see some of those clear framings. Like when he talks about the nature of the Godhead, that is clear framing that is not negotiable to me. When he talks about things like gender and understanding that I am made in the image of God, that's clear framing that he is saying, this isn't negotiable. These are things that will always be. And you can kind of picture those as those walls in that house. That there are certain things that are designed that way because it gives you the best chance for exaltation. It gives you the best hope of joy in this life and joy in the eternities to follow if we follow his framework. And then use our own ingenuity and creativity to fill this space that he's given us. He's given us a lot of flexibility in a lot of areas, but there's certain things that are critical, like the ordinances and the covenants, that can't be manipulated, that can't be changed. They hold this house up. So we can't just go knocking down those walls. And hopefully this object lesson helps your kids understand that concept just a little bit better.